All right, everybody, welcome back to the YS channel. So we got a fun one for you movie lovers today. So we're gonna review the classic anime movie Lupin the Third: The Castle of Cagliostro.
Oh, Derek. Derek, we're going to examine a unique cult classic from Japan. Derek, are you familiar with the franchise Lupin the Third?
I am familiar with the Lupin the Third franchise, and yes, for anybody unaware, the Lupin the Third franchise is based on a half Japanese, half French thief. Honestly, he's like a pervert, like in the vein of Glenn Quagmire from Family Guy, and his gang of criminals. And the Castle of Cagliostro is actually the reason why this movie is very notable. This is the directorial debut of Hayao Miyazaki, who would later go on to found Studio Ghibli.
Cagliostro also diverged from the norm set by the Lupin Third franchise, as it paints the thief in a more heroic light compared to previous series and manga and the previous movie, The Secret of Mamo. But more on that later.
Yeah, so anyhow, again, as I already said earlier in our intro here, the reason why this is notable is this is like the genesis of Studio Ghibli. Hayao Miyazaki got his directorial debut with this movie. It's a very influential movie. Like even the likes of like Steven Spielberg refers to this movie as a source of like influence and inspiration for his movies. But with that said, the film shares a lot of themes and art styles that do carry over into Studio Ghibli movies, such as NAUSSICA, The Valley of the Wind, so on and so forth.
Well, Castle in the Sky would actually become the first official Studio Ghibli film, but its origins can be traced back to the Count of Cagliostro and actually the second series of Lupin the Third, which was airing at the time in 1979. Because, spoiler alert, the robot in Castle in the Sky, or the robots, the design is borrowed heavily from an episode in Lupin the Third Part 2.
Yeah, so unlike the Studio Ghibli movies that Miyazaki would be most famous for, this movie, The Castle of Cagliostro, actually had a tight production deadline.
Well, Castle of Cagliostro is unique to Lupin the Third, because, as I said before, it paints Lupin the Third in a heroic light. Whereas in the manga, the previous two series, and the previous movie, Secret Mamo, Lupin is a pervert who does anything for sex, and he does everything for the thrill of stealing. But in this movie, after he and Jigen robbed a casino and discovered that the money they stolen is actually fake, they decided they had to scheme to actually rob the source of the gold bills, which is like the platinum standard of counterfeit money from a little known duchy in Europe called Kobayashi. The country doesn't exist in real life, but it does in Lupin the Third. And Lupin decides he wants to rob the place and take over. But on the way there, Lupin and Jigen encounter the bride-to-be, the Princess Clarice, who's actually trying to flee from the notorious Count, and sets off the adventure of the movie. Like, Lupin receives a ring from Clarice before she's taken away back to the castle, and the ring is actually part of the puzzle that Lupin needs to solve a riddle in the movie about the actual secret treasure that lies somewhere within the Castle of Cagliostro. But I won't spoil that you have to see the movie.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, the likes of Steven Spielberg, of all people, considers this movie a source of like inspiration and influence. A lot of the themes, especially this whole escapism, action, adventure, and pacing and all that, and the fantastical elements, you could see like in movies like Indiana Jones, and it was actually, he got the idea from watching Lupin the Third to an extent. Of course, they're totally unrelated to each other. It starts off with familiar elements of the franchise. Lupin, he's robbing a casino, right? And then one thing leads to another, where, as you already said, he ends up in Cagliostro, and that's where things start to differ from the character's standard portrayal in the manga and anime that precede this movie. Whereas he's basically the archetype of fucking Glenn Quagmire, the Family Guy type character. He's the anime version of that. And as in this movie, as you already said, he is portrayed in a more heroic light, which the creator of the whole franchise actually did not like, because he's on record saying Lupin is a detestable, disgusting human being, and there's nothing to celebrate about the guy. But good thing Miyazaki had different ideas for this movie. This is a classic. So anybody if you've never watched an anime movie ever in your life, this one's a must watch. Like, it's well done, it's paced well, the story's written well. I mean, if you've never heard of the Lupin III franchise, you can watch this movie with no formal background of the franchise itself. I mean, some of the characters are obviously like deep cuts, where if you know who they are, awesome. But to get into the story and follow along, you really don't need to know too much about them. And again, when the likes of Steven Spielberg, especially in the 1980s, considers this one of the best movies out there. And he was, as I already said, he was heavily influenced. Just look at the Indiana Jones franchise for further proof. That's some serious accolades. And then, of course, you have to know, like, deep down somewhere, him and Miyazaki are good buddies. And if you're not familiar with the Studio Ghibli body of work, I would recommend you get familiar with that. Even if you're not like an anime person, there's some of the best movies ever made. Graveyard of the Fireflies, Spirited Away, even other ones like Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind. Howl's Moving Castle, My Neighbor Totoro. There's some really damn good movies out there, and not just anime movies, like just really damn well good movies.
Yeah, I want to point out something about Lupin the Third, because when the Castle of Cagliostro was released, it was during the second anime series based on Lupin the Third by Punch Monkey. And when Castle of Cagliostro came out, it was actually it actually influenced not only Steven Spielberg but also the founder of Pixar. I forget his name, but he got busted years ago for inappropriate behavior. But point is, he saw the movie, and he got Disney to incorporate elements and themes from Castle of Cagliostro in terms of Disney movies. For example, in Atlantis, when the city rises from the ocean, that's actually based on a scene from Castle of Cagliostro. And then the movie itself inspired some of the themes in Pixar movies. But the legacy of this movie basically Hayao Miyazaki putting both of his feet forward, and he takes his first major steps to becoming a legend, not in the role of anime, but in the role of animation and filmmaking.
Yeah, well said. So, again, if you never checked out this movie, check it out. If you like our reviews and discussion about movies, drop a like, follow, and subscribe to this channel. We always greatly appreciate it.